Wanadhani asibongolala.
Tumejamu sijifanye uja notice.
Wanadhani asibongolala.
Tumejamu sijifanye uja notice.
Wambie punde imechoka sana.
Tumejamu sijifanye uja notice.
Wambie punde imechoka sana.
Tumejamu sijifanye uja notice.
Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready.
Smallest I've asked if you'd consider running.
People don't remember that in the year 2007, I was actually asked by somebody who was in a very senior position in an institution where I used to deliver lectures, and they told me, run. And I told them, my understanding of the Kenyan electorate is that they are not interested in individuals like me who believe that they are warriors for ideas. They'll vote on the basis of who gives them money and on the basis of their ethnic affiliation. After my experience in Kamukunji, I've written 2 books, A Call for Hygiene in Kenyan Politics and Sanitizing Kenyan Politics. It doesn't mean that we must not participate in the political process. There is also the misconception in Kenya that in order to change your country, you must be in active politics. Right. Not all of us can be. But the electorate in Kenya is part of the problem. They are co-authors of their own misfortune. Tanzania, across the border, are friends of mine who are born in Mwanza, amongst the Sukuma people. They run and are elected in Mbeya, amongst their Wanyakyusa. Can I, to the person who asked the question, if my ideas are right, can I come to Meru and run on the basis of ideas to deliver on agriculture, to deliver on education? You'll say, have our women stopped giving birth?
Wow.
That we may get a foreigner. So it is our duty, and that is one of the things that some of us have been doing, to try and tell Kenyans that we must be wedded to ideas rather than to ethnic and clan affiliation. Look at the formations, just to answer the question whether I would or would not. Look at the formations that are now emerging. They are ethnic. Forget about the political parties. It is about Mount Kenya. It is about Mulembe Nation. It is about Luo. It is about Kamba. It is about the Rift Valley. It is about the pastoralists.
Kisii, Nyanza.
Kisii, Nyanza. Kisii saying now we have our own, and everybody is saying they have their own. You cannot run a nation that wants to be a good member of East African Community, a good member of the African Union, on primordial, pre-industrial instincts. Would I? Yes, I would. Is the time ripe? No, it is not. Do we have a duty to make the time right? Yes, we are, and we have.
Okay.
In Kenya, unfortunately, we have bred a crop of politicians in this country who actually believe they are above the law. They believe you cannot arrest them, you cannot question them, because if you dare, their entire communities will come and make the country ungovernable. It is unfortunate that we have allowed ourselves to create such a crop of politicians who think, as I've said before, larger than life, almost as large as death.
Do you think then last year may have marked a bit of a political turning point with regards to the Reject Finance Bill protests? Do you think that was a moment? I mean, I think we've talked about it to no end in terms of it shifted. We were collectively pushing back on these rising taxes during the Gen Z-led protests. Do you think, based on what we're saying, there was a political turning point, but maybe right now it's been marred by internal conflict? And how do we guide our way through that?
Our young people conquered fear. And when you conquer fear, that is the beginning of liberation. And let me tell you, the country has never been the same again and will never be the same again. There may be a lull, but the seed is planted, and you can see that the young people have migrated from the streets, but they are in social media, speaking largely responsibly. And you can see that even individuals and elements in government and in the opposition, they are running scared. They may appear to be very confident, but they are running scared because they know that there is a crop of young Kenyans who have unmasked and undress them at once. The only thing that must now happen is that these young people and other persons of goodwill who are not so very young must organize themselves and ensure that in the run-up to the election, which is 2 years away on the 10th day of August 2027, holding all factors constant, that they keep the ante. And these individuals who are speakers at funerals and weddings and in churches will soon realize that ideas that change the nations are not articulated at such fora. I'm not afraid. I'm guardedly optimistic.
Guardedly optimistic. I think that's my stance too, and I feel very validated to hear it coming from you. But there's a quagmire, which is the how has been a big problem. And in the absence of the formality of a constitution, when it's a movement that seems to have one common goal but doesn't know how to get there, the how becomes a problem. Any ideas on the how?
Good war generals don't announce where they are going to attack and how, but I will say it because I say that if we have young people who are eligible to vote, take the vote. Take the vote as they have never taken before. And in addition to take the vote, they begin to get organized. Those who are saying that they support the youth and are announcing their presidential candidature left, right, and center, stop it. Let us organize, let us make sure that you are in one political formation and talk about the nation. Let me tell you, the ballot may shock this country. I believe that is the avenue because I believe that we owe it to ourselves as Kenyans to only speak about democratic, and I use the word democratic guardedly. We use the instruments provided by the law to bring about change because we have a country to protect. We have a country whose peace we must never sacrifice for short-term political interests. The young people, count your numbers. It has been done before, and it can't be done. And it can't be done through organization. It can't be done by saying what is necessary and not saying certain things. It can't be done through subterranean to mean doing things quietly. It can't be done by speaking to hearts and minds of Kenyans who want change. And why do they want change? Because they see that the current crop of politicians are not midwifing processes that change their economic circumstances, that change their very being. And my appeal to Kenyans of goodwill, whether young or old, this is the time to ask, do we have the nation that we want as it is now? Because our country is not at ease. You may say all manner of things, but our country is not at ease. You know, when I listened to our minister for the time being in charge of the treasury, explaining how the economy is doing well.
For the time being.
Oh, they're for the time being. How the economy is doing well, then I know the economy is not doing well. When the economy is doing well, it speaks for itself. You go to Gikomba and you see the economy. You go to Kibera, you see. You go to Emurua Dikir and you see the economy. You see the economy in every sector, in every pocket, in every handbag. It speaks. When you have to give an interview of 30 minutes to explain to us how well the economy is performing, then you are telling me the economy is not performing.
It's a macro, it's stabilization of the macro.
Absolutely. The problem in Kenya and the problem within the political class is mistrust. That is the problem. There is nothing wrong. That is why we complain. If whatever set of individuals you bring, people will complain about them because, in truth, individuals want to have appointed into the IEBC those whom they think they can manipulate. And if they don't think they can manipulate them, then they accuse them of all manner of ills. And my view is, let us go through the process and have these individuals subjected to scrutiny in parliament. The problem is that we also have a parliament that is subject to scrutiny. So you never know whether they are animated by the desire to look for good people or they are animated by ethnicity and political convenience. And it is tragic in our country The very fact that we doubt these processes, the very fact that we even print ballot papers outside of the country is an indictment of who we are. And once again, and I say this ad nauseum, we have had a crop of politicians. They were in politics when I was at the university. I'm now past official retirement age. They are still telling me that they are the ones who bear the vision of the nation. Until this crop of politicians are consigned to the Museum of History alongside the spinning wheel, this country will not make the strides that it needs to make economically, politically, or otherwise. Because they are the ones who remind us we are Luos. They are the ones who remind us we are Luyas, Mulembe Nation. They are the ones who remind us we are from the mountain. They are the ones who remind us we are Somalis. They are the ones who remind us we are Mijikenda. How can you build a nation in the 21st century where the primordial instincts of ethnicity are the things that govern decision making? And that is how you look at IEBC. You look at the composition of IEBC, there are only 6 of them. Somebody say, but there is no Borana. There is no Kamba. Now, do we do an IEBC where every tribe is represented? I want all of you to read Koigi Wawamwere's book, Toward Genocide in Kenya, the Curse of Negative Ethnicity. And Koigi, to his credit, says effectively what I'm saying, that our problem in questioning every activity, including composition of public institutions, is informed by our ethnic inclination, as reminded always by our ethnic kingpins.
How do we save ourselves from that? Okay.
Right.
Sorry, I had to ask a question.
Yes.
How do we save ourselves from that? Just going with this IEBC, on the show, when the selection panel was about to start its work, we interviewed the chair of the selection panel. And when they started, we kept saying that it's upon all of us as Kenyans to actually watch what they're doing. That to hold them accountable, we had to look at the names that they're publishing as shortlisted candidates. We look at them, we look at how they're performing at the interviews, and let's come up with our own way of saying we can sense that this process is sober. That has not happened. Now we sit back here and we're listening to the kingpins, as you call them, when they say this is right, this is wrong, and we are likely to be swayed by what the politicians are going to say. How do we fix this of ourselves ahead of the next election?
You know, Latif, when I hear somebody says, because somebody knows somebody, if you are good to be appointed into the IEBC or any public body, you must have built a profile over time. You must have met people. You must have met individuals in high places. So the mere fact that I know the president, or that the president knows me, or that somebody is a cousin, is not a basis for disqualification. I want to hear that the individual who has been nominated is an individual who has an irredeemable criminal past, or is an irredeemable corrupt individual. The fact that he's known to this and that, to me, is not an issue. My view is these individuals should be subjected to the process that is prescribed in the Constitution, and once they take the oath of office, they should now recognize that they have a higher duty and that they are not beholden to the appointing authority.
But you and I know, PLO, that the water has already been muddied. They will go through a vetting by Parliament, but questions will remain. And as we head closer and closer to 2027, those questions will keep coming back.
Of course.
Louder.
That, this person was picked by Ruto, and there was Raila involved, and so. He's from Turkana. The person who sits in Turkana as the deputy chief of staff in the presidency is a Turkana former governor. Those issues will come up.
Latif, do we want the UN to manage our elections? Because what Kenyans, I hear Kenyans saying, that we have lost faith in ourselves completely. That we now want our elections to be managed either by the OAU or the East African Community or the UN. That is effectively what we are saying, that we have lost faith in anybody who is Kenyan, and we want the international community to conduct elections for us. If that is what we want, then let us say it, because whichever set of individuals you appoint, there will be an argument one way or the other.
Yeah.
So let us make the decision. You politicians who are there, let us today, if we Kenyans are saying, particularly you, the political class, you are saying that we have no faith in ourselves, let us ask the UN to conduct elections on behalf of Kenyans so that we don't complain. Because at this rate, there'll be nobody capable of being appointed. And I don't want to see any good Kenyan who has the capacity to serve being denied an opportunity because he's the relative of a person who knows the president, who knows somebody. That cannot be the criteria for shutting people out of public office.
So is the alternative to just agitate for change? To Latif's point, it's how do we save ourselves? And you're saying we can't afford to say, this is just a gone case, we're going to leave people to figure this out. You're saying that it's up to us to push for what we need?
Absolutely. And you are doing it here. You don't take for granted and what is being done through various media. We are awakening the spirit of the nation, that we cannot allow the politician who themselves are players to determine who the referee is going to be. And in any event, if you look at our constitution so very keenly, you will discover that the result of any election is determined at the polling station. This thing that we do every 5 years at the Bomas of Kenya has no constitutional basis. If we were to have that done, and you look at other countries which have done it very well in Africa, Botswana, look at Namibia.
How do they do it?
Because they have trust. You'll say they are smaller nations, almost mono-ethnic, but that is not an argument. It means that the spirit of integrity is upheld. The politicians are beholden to the legal system. In Kenya, unfortunately, we have bred a crop of politicians in this country who actually believe they're above the law. They believe you cannot arrest them, you cannot question them, because if you dare, their entire communities will come and make the country ungovernable. It is unfortunate that we have allowed ourselves to create such a crop of politicians who think, as I've said before, larger than life, almost as large as death.
What's today's quote?
I'm curious to say the quote and then ask, does it sound familiar?
Yeah.
No matter how good you are, if you stay for too long, you spoil it.
Absolutely.
Right. These were your words.
I think those were my words.
Those were your words. And you finish it by saying a dancer always knows when to leave the stage.
Absolutely.
Right.
History is consistent. No matter how good you are, you have to know when to leave. I think the Tanzanian president, Mwalimu Nyerere, put it so very well. Kungatuka, you must leave when the audience wants you to stay. Because that is how you pass over the baton to the next generation, and you watch them as they grow. You become a supervisor or a guide or a mentor. But when you stay for too long, history has the habit of showing you out in disgrace.
How do you know?
I was going to say, how do you know? How do you reconcile when, because they say when the applause is loudest, when you're at the top. But what if you're not yet done with your mandate? So how do you reconcile leaving when you're doing well, but also completing what you set out to do?
In the life of any nation or any enterprise, you can't finish it. You only play your part and let the others play their part. This assumption, particularly in the African political arena, that you are Moses with a rod and staff, parting Red Seas and summoning manna and hitting rocks and water comes out, is completely misguided. It is what is called the Messiah syndrome, that you are some kind of Messiah sent by divinity to save the world. No, you are not. Yours is to play your part in the knowledge that in the scheme of things, you are only but a droplet in an ocean.
You know, our laws have set such parameters. You know, they say you serve, especially in the executive offices, you serve for 2 terms. If you're in some of these institutions, you have tenure that is defined, and you cannot go beyond that. But then there are those who, yes, you've served your 2 terms or whatever, you're out there, but you're still influential in the community. Is that also saying that even those who have left formal office ought also to leave the informal office?
Not at all. When you've left formal office, then you become an advisor. You tell us, during my formal days, these are the landmines that I stepped on. Don't step on them, because I walked this path before. But you ought, as Nelson Mandela once said, call me when it is necessary. I will not interfere.
I will wait for you to seek
Absolutely.
me out. I'll not be sitting there giving advice.
Absolutely. I'll not be the repository of wisdom, saying, this is me who knows everything, monopoly of wisdom and knowledge. No, you've got to let your successors perform. And if you want to correct them, you do so in a manner that opens their eyes, not in a manner that inflames their anger. That is what wisdom dictates.
How many counties do you think we should have today?
Let us contextualize our model, and I was intimately involved in this exercise. I've written about it, and therefore I speak from a position of relative confidence and knowledge. We walked this country, and the country told us, we want to decentralize service delivery. And we went and interpreted what the country told us. We looked at several models. Within the continent of Africa, we looked at the federal models, we looked at the decentralized models, and we took the view that Kenya will remain a unitary government. We are not federal, a la United States, a la Nigeria, a la India. We are still unitary, but we said, let us decentralize. And we looked at the South African model very keenly, and also the Canadian model very keenly. And I remember when we invited the late Professor Ali Mazrui in 2001, he gave a paper which I remember to date. He said, if Kenyan politics and African politics is by extension ethnic prone, can we have constitutions that are ethnic proof? And he was saying that in the context of how we devolved. We then suggested that if we want to devolve, let's have 14 units. And we looked at the economic viability of those units. There are those who said 18. And we took that view by looking at South Africa, whose economy is 4 times larger than our own. It has 9 provinces. The economy of the province of Gauteng only is bigger than the entire economy of Kenya. They have a population, Gauteng, of 16 million. We have a population of about 55 million. And we, of course, had the Bomas draft, which was interfered with by Nkilifi. And we had the famous or infamous Wako draft, which was then rejected at the referendum. And that is how, after the 2007-2008, we ended up with the constitution in Naivasha. And I remember when they met in Naivasha, there were debates, what should we do? Then somebody, I'm told, said, but we had 42 districts, 47 districts, let us make them the devolution units. And as I speak to you now, I have no doubt in my mind that we should reduce the counties. We should merge them. And the reason is very simple. None of those devolved units are sustainable. If you look at each one of them, they are technically insolvent, all of them. And secondly, they have ethnicized our country. Not only ethnicization, but clanization. It's also in clans now. And when we were talking about devolution, we also said we don't want counties that are ethnically pure. For example, if you go to the western part of Kenya, we said, or we suggested that what was then known as Luo Nyanza should comprise Kisii, should comprise Kuria, should comprise what is the Kipsigis land, and should comprise Bunyala or Busia, so that there is no ethnic purity in any one county. Today, within the counties, even the ethnicities have been divided. But that the much more important issue is the economic issue. And this is why all these counties, when they meet, you hear the coastal part, because they are beginning to realize that coast county makes sense. They are beginning to realize that the lake region makes sense, that the northern region makes sense, that southern Rift Valley makes sense. But the tragedy now is that people have got so used to the power that springs out of these counties. The politicians have persuaded the electorate that these are things that are owned by tribes, so that voices such as mine are likely to be drowned in the sea of political convenience and ethnicity. But one day, and I hope sooner rather than later, there'll come a generation that will recognize that we've got to do what is right, and that if you want an omelette, you must break the egg.
A lawyer of serious repute in this country. You've served in the LSK and all. We are seeing what's been happening with the judiciary. Questions and mud being flung at the judiciary. And now it's like the judiciary is in the dock by itself. What do you think?
It is pathetic.
What's pathetic? The judiciary?
The situation in the judiciary is pathetic. I have been around, and I can tell you that this is the worst that we have heard. It is the worst because there is empirical and anecdotal evidence to demonstrate that justice is on sale. And many are the people I practice and I see, even when you go to file papers, people will give you accounts of monies which are being asked for facilitation fees. They give them all manner of guises for which receipts are not issued. And once again, I did, in appreciation of this reality, raise it with the Honorable the Chief Justice. And we have had meetings at which these things have been raised. You've had some of my friends. But when I see, this is the most painful thing, when I see judges from the Chief Justice litigating in their own courts, they are defendants, they are making applications. The Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya is sitting down to appoint a panel of judges to appoint judges who will preside over a case in which she is the defendant. It is without precedent. I believe it is without precedent in the world. That is where we are at. And I pray that something will be done. And the most recent is when we have an order by an impaneled by judges of the Court of Appeal saying that the Deputy Chief Justice ought not to have impaneled a panel of judges which was deliberating was seized of the matter of the former Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. In other countries, that Deputy Chief Justice ought to have resigned immediately. But we have no culture of resignation. We have no culture of taking responsibility. I keep on reminding people that here in this region, the second president of the Republic of Tanzania, Mzee Ali Hassan Mwinyi, resigned as a minister in charge of prisons because there had been an escape from a prison. That did not stop him from becoming the second president of the Republic of Tanzania. Wajibikaji, it doesn't mean that you are criminally culpable. You are taking responsibility of a moral nature. But here, because people are so used to perks, to office, to bodyguards, to allowances, they think that leaving office is a death sentence.
So what should we do now?
I think what is happening now, and I hope that the Law Society of Kenya will take it up upon themselves to demand of the Supreme Court that something be done. I have friends in the Supreme Court, brilliant minds in the Supreme Court, but as I speak now, the judiciary as presently constituted is so badly muddied that even I, who was reluctant to say so, can now say that we must reconstitute the Supreme Court, that we must reconstitute the Supreme Court. I say this with a lot of pain because I know some of my good friends are there and they are brilliant minds and it will mark the end of their careers. But really, we've got to do, sometimes pain must be borne by individuals for the sake of the larger good.
What Wakili is saying, that is the way.
You agree to it?
I agree.
You've taken
to
your
it.
time to...
Yes, I've read it.
Actually, we have done this mathematics here.
You're convinced?
Yeah.
Yes, because
Yeah,
in is a specific period of time.
Okay.
In. So in the 5th year, it says here, section 136(2)(a), being the second Tuesday in August in every 5th year. In every 5th. It's not at the end of,
The
you
5th
finish
year.
5 years
Okay.
and then you now do an election.
okay.
It says in the
Within.
second Tuesday. So the 5th year is between, we were doing our calculations here, 9th of August 2026 to 8th of August 2026.
And you
That
want to
is
say
the
that
5th
the
year.
last day of the 5th year cannot be in?
No,
that-
but it's specific.
The first, second
Tuesday.
Second Tuesday
Second
of August.
Tuesday in August.
All right.
So
So this one falls on 2026.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Just-
you see, because the 5th year runs, it's not the January, it's not a calendar year, January
Yeah.
to December. It is, it cuts across August 26th
Okay.
to August 27th. So within there, that is the 5th year. So within, and if we understand the meaning of the term in, it is in that time of between that August to the other August of 2027
Okay.
is when the election must take place.
We're not coming to the streets because there's anyone who wants your job, really. We're coming to the streets because it's scary that you are in office.
It is.
You told Uhuru, usiue watoto wangu. And then you've sent your cops to watoto wa wengine.
Yeah,
The God you serve will visit you.
that's true.
Very well. You told people, hii government ni ya mwananchi. Mwananchi has the chance to fire and to hire. And then here you are, killing mwananchi, threatening mwananchi, abducting children. You know, you're fighting with kids. Presidents have fought big things by the way.
But you're fighting with
We are fighting
children.
with the children of the nation.
Yeah.
These things should call you to reflect and talk to your advisors like a man.
So you see
Say it with your chest. Guys, can we find a solution?
Someone is saying that Raila should not be touched. This is the first person that should go home. Raila worked with Moi, he worked with Kibaki, he worked with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. As per now, he's the pocket of William Samoei Ruto. He's the same person who suspended Ruto in 2008 when Ruto was in the Ministry of Agriculture and he sold 7 billion. Raila suspended him. He didn't return those money. As per now, they're working together. Kenya cannot even be redeemed by Raila Amolo Odinga. Kenya cannot be redeemed by William Samoei Ruto because he has messed. Kenya cannot be redeemed with the Rigathi Gachagua and the likes. We as Genesis, we have 16 million votes and we are not afraid. I want to tell you for free, we are coming one-on-one to meet these people. Bro, coming 2027, this guy used churches in 2022. He gave pastors something small. He gave them some sweets. Pastors gave in and campaigned for him in churches. He came to Mama Mboga. He knew Mama Mboga is having votes because he's having customers. Can lure for them some small fish, some omena. By 2027, Gen Z have a candidate which is going to meet William Samoei Ruto. But these cocoons, they are gathering together. Nothing.
As we believe that those who aspire for leadership should be discussing how to liberate this country economically.
Okay.
How do you change the lives of our people? Because of what need is it if I'm going to discuss with someone about forming a coalition? And yet, they were part of the odious debt that is strangling this nation. Will they agree to us declaring this debt odious and saying we are not going to pay any debt that was taken illegally, that didn't fund any single project in Kenya? Will they agree to such a conversation? They will not. So let them do their thing. We will market ourselves to the people of Kenya. Our house is self-contained. We have our president candidate, Jimmy Wanjigi, and I'm here, running mate, Willis Otieno. So what are we negotiating with them?
So for you, you don't even have to think about who is the flag bearer, who is the...
Our house
running mate.
is
Your house is
self-contained.
settled.
It's settled, it's self-contained. We are talking to the people, and we are doing enough that the people will see in the fullness of time. We don't have to react to what other people are doing. Let them also do their game. We are also doing our own game. Safina Party is purely about economic liberation of the nation. Let every campaign define what they represent. Because as we believe, the space that we occupy, it's about the economic emancipation of our people. It's not about positions for individuals. You saw ODM as some of them shouting loud that now they want to be given positions in middle administration. That is their right. They can go and get those positions. Because then they believe that leadership is about positions for individuals. We are not in that space. And we cannot caucus with anybody who is discussing leadership of this nation on the basis of positions to individuals. We have a running president and his running mate. We have an agenda. Our agenda is about economic liberation of the people of Kenya. And we invite Kenyans to get into this economic discussion space. Because of what value is it that if Mbadi is on the table, all lawyers are full. If Oparanya is on the table, all lawyers are full. That's the politics that they know. That William Ruto eats for all Kalenjins. That is what the traditional politicians know. As we are not in that space, as we believe everybody should be rich, the government should come up with policies that enables the individual, wherever he is, to be able to get economic emancipation. But when Mbadi is sitting there and they are taking illegal loans in the name of the people of Kenya, how does that enrich the poor Luo man in Sindo Beach, in Homa Bay? What it means is that now Mbadi must also come up, after taking that loan, he will come up with a new finance bill that increases the taxes, charges, and levies. For that poor man in Sindo, that man who is crying about economic pain, they are going to ask him to pay more in taxes.
But Mbadi said that is not the case this time.
Write it down. The finance bill is coming soon. They are going to increase taxes, charges, and levies. It is coming. Write it down. That I swear. They are going to increase your taxes, charges, and levies, whether you like it or not. But he can say all he wants to say. But your taxes are going up. But your earning has not increased.
Is it a must that the government has to come up with another finance bill?
But they have to finance their budget. How will they finance it? Already they have told you that their budget for this coming financial year is going to be 4.7 trillion. Yeah. So how will they finance it? Their collections today, on average, on revenue, you are averaging 160 billion per month. Your collections are barely hitting 2.1 trillion. Your debt finance for this year was going to be 1.9 trillion. Next year, your debt payment is at 2.1 trillion. You have a budget of 4.7 trillion. So tell me, how will you finance it without raising taxes? Because it's financed from people's money. So they have to come back to you and ask you to collect, to pay. Yeah.
Range Rover,
$430,000.
$180,000.
Lexus LX 600,
$300,000.
$150,000.
LC 300,
$200,000.
$100,000.
Toyota Fortuner,
$80,000.
$35,000.
Prado 250,
$130,000.
$65,000.
I am the president of Kenya, but the president doesn't hold up.
Finish him.
Matiang'i has never been the candidate of any young people. I'm shocked someone thinks Matiang'i is the candidate of any young person.
Yeah.
We know Matiang'i as the strongman of the Jubilee regime that put this country in extreme crazy debt, as the guy who occupied the office of the deputy president during the Jubilee regime. We know him as the strongman internal security minister. We know him for the Ruaraka land saga. No one knows Matiang'i for any good. Yes, exactly. And the killings during COVID and all of those things. So anyone who thinks Matiang'i is a savior, lost.
Yeah.
Kenyans, hawa ndio wakombozi. Same old monkeys, baboons, gorillas, different forests.
Mama yangu, game over.
Barua toka Jaramogi na Kenyatta wanauliza kama Kenya
na vitu zina happen in country ikifika 2027 na uko 18 plus tukupate bila kura. Ai, utatuambia unaishi wapi? Utatuambia unataka nani apeleke Ruto nyumbani?
So guys, kitu must go hajui, sasa tumechangamka. Tunangoja finance bill. Tutokea 1 year anniversary.
1 year, anza kutafuta bendera na firimbi kwenye ulieka. Tafungua store. Because, get ready. Tumechanga, tushapiga pre-game.
Kiongozi wa Kenya Kwanza ni nani? Ni Ruto. Kwa hivyo shetani katika hii Kenya ni nani? Ni Ruto. Na ueleze mpaka jirani yako, ueleze mtoto wako, ueleze mjukuu wako aelewe kwamba shetani wa Kenya ni nani? Ni Ruto. Kwa hivyo kila siku asubuhi ukiamka unasema ashindwe.
Huyu Ruto mumwambie tumechoka naye. Kama inatakana tubadilishe katiba ni kupunguza miaka ya Ruto, sio kuongeza atifike 7. We cannot wait to get an opportunity kutuma huu mtu nyumbani kwa sababu kazi imemshinda. Ruto tunataka kwanza kupunguza term yake. Kama ingewezekana hii mwaka ingeisha kama huyu mtu amekaa kwa hiyo kiti. Aende nyumbani, kazi imemshinda.
You like me, why them a fight me? You like me, chewing a bomb, bite it.
TJ, bomb them, never stop.
We don't trust them, even if we bust them. We don't trust them, stay fine, not touch them. We don't trust them, hope your man a suck them. Informer me say you must them.